Hey everyone, my name is Scott and I have been in the embroidery industry for about 5 years. Today, I wanted to take some with a quick overview of what the Hatch 3 digitizing software is. Alright, so what is Hatch 3? Hatch 3 is a digitizing program that was made by Wilcom. Wilcom is one of the industry leaders in the embroidery industry. Alright, the Wilcom Embroidery Studio is definitely the industry standard, so a lot of professional digitizers you'll see utilize this program. So I reached out to get a quote to see how expensive this software was, and with a software turn-in, the price tag was just under $3,000 to purchase. Now looking at the Hatch 3 embroidery software, that software is designed for more of a hobbyist or home embroiderer, or someone who wants to get their foot in the door with embroidery with a much lower price tag, which we'll discuss later. Alright, so what is digitizing? So digitizing for embroidery is the process of converting images or designs into a digital format that the embroidery machine can read, execute, and then ultimately stitch out. So digitizing lets you pretty much select the design, and then while using the software, select different stitch types, pathing, and sequencing for your machine to then read and then execute on the actual machine, utilizing different file formats. Effective digitizing ensures that the final embroidered product looks clean and professional while also being durable. So do you actually need a digitizing program for your business? I would say that answer is completely up to you. There are many embroidery businesses that do not utilize a digitizing software and just have a digitizer send them whatever they want to embroider. There are many digitizers online that will do a lot of the work for you. Once they send you the design, you just put it in your machine and you stitch out. However, I fully recommend at least having some type of software where you can organize or make small changes to your design if you do not want to do full-time digitizing. I personally do about 95% of my own digitizing. However, when it comes to some more advanced designs, I will definitely outsource those. Or if I am falling behind on orders, I might end up sending that design out to get it back quicker so I can still focus on actually doing embroidery. So yes, ultimately, if you're running an embroidery business, I would definitely recommend it. By owning a digitizing program, it ultimately lets you customize whatever you want, have better quality control, be more efficient, and also by marketing that you do your own digitizing, also hopefully pull in some more clients that way. Investing in a good digitizing program can definitely enhance your capabilities and help you grow your business. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the 4 different levels that is included with Hatch 3 digitizing. All right, there are 4 different levels of the actual Hatch 3 digitizing program that you could purchase. The 4 levels are Organizer, Personalizer, Composer, and Digitizer. All right, the Organizer level starts at about $150 USD and pretty much lets you view and manage designs in your program. All right, it comes with these 3 little tab options when you decide to open the program. It's going to be manage designs, customize designs, and pretty much output designs. So this just allows you to pretty much look at your files that you end up purchasing. All right, the next level is Personalizer, and this starts at about $250 US. And this pretty much adds the tab of lettering and monogram. This just allows you to pretty much add lettering, whether you want to add lettering to a blanket, you want to monogram napkins, it pretty much allows you to do that. So if lettering is pretty much all you want to do and add a little bit of personalization, this is a good choice to look at. All right, the third option starting at about $600 is going to be the Composer level. And this pretty much adds a couple more features. All right, so this level will add the Artwork tab, Auto Digitize tab, Edit Objects tab, Create Layouts, and then the Multi-Hooping tab. So what Composer pretty much lets you do is you can now auto digitize your artwork, and you can also start breaking apart letters, splitting objects with your knife, and just be able to set up those files just a little bit more than you would with the Personalizer section. Now the last level that Hatch 3 offers is the actual digitizer section. By far their most popular section, and however does come with a price tag of about $800. And this level will just pretty much give you full control. So you will now add the digitize section and the applique section, and you can pretty much have full control or create whatever you want in the embroidery section. So the rest of this video is not going to be a tutorial video. It's just going to be me showing you a little bit of the features that are inside the program. All right, so I'll just be talking about 3 different sections in Hatch 3. These are going to be the actual toolboxes that I discussed earlier that come with the different designs. Then I'll be talking about the toolbars. The toolbars are pretty much the items on top of the program. And then I'll be talking about the dockers, which are the section that's located on the right side. And that lets you just pretty much update all the properties of what you're trying to do in the program. All right, so now let's just head in the program and show you some things to see if this might be a good idea for you to invest in either your home business or hobby. All right, now that we're in the program, let's talk about the 3 sections we were talking about: toolboxes, the dockers, and the toolbar. So for the toolbar, we're going to start up at the top. On this left-hand section, it's pretty much how to open designs, and it's pretty much can also be found in this file. So if any of these objects are probably listed on this toolbar, just for easy access. So let's go ahead and open up a design. I'm going to open up this patch that I made, and let's go ahead and start talking about some of this other stuff. All right, so if you already have the design, you can go ahead and hit the export option and change it into any certain file format for whatever machine you want to work with. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Let's move over. If you have this Embroidery Connect, I think you can send it straight to your embroidery machine. I don't know too much about that, but I'm sure there's resources out there for that. Moving over, let's talk about True View. I use this all the time. Just hitting the letter T pretty much makes it, you can see anything underneath the objects. And so T just makes it look more realistic, as if it was going to be stitched out. So T will toggle that on and off. All right, you can also, for the show option, a lot of times if you see a whole bunch of white dots, that's like the needle penetrations. And so if you want to turn that off, just go ahead and go to needle points, but you can turn off different parts using the show option. All right. Over here, hoop, you can go ahead and change different hoops. Let me go ahead and recenter it. All right, so you can toggle the hoop on and off, or you can right click, and then you can set up different hoops. So if you have a brother, you can go ahead and pick different hoop for your machine. That's just how you can make it, make sure you're fitting it inside whatever hoop you want it to. I usually know what I'm working with and which size, and I got plenty of hoop options, so I don't really worry about the setting up the hoop. All right, for the template, again, you can make a different template if you want. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Grid, I usually do keep grid on, and you can change different settings in the grid for that. For rulers I always keep on as well. And good thing about rulers, if you want to make sure something's straight like this sword, you can click up here on the ruler and drag over to make sure something's straight. And if you want to get rid of that ruler, you can just drag it off. So I use rulers all the time. Player, if you just hit that, it'll be able to show you the stitch path however you're stitching it. So hit escape to get out of that. Pan, if you just want to pan around the screen. Zoom in, zoom out, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then coming down here, reshape you will use a lot. So if I want to again reshape the top of this ship, if you hit the H button or you hit this button, you go and move these points around. So reshape you'll use all the time. All right, let's go back. Again, if you select the object, you might get different properties, but let's just keep talking about without selecting any part of the object. Again, this is another section you can change your hoop options. Rotating, you would have to click on the object to rotate. Oh, that's rotating the hoop. So if you did want to rotate the hoop a certain way, I believe you would need to have the hoop selected, and then you can change the hoop that way. But again, I usually digitize with no hoop. background over here. Background is huge, very underutilized, but pretty much what you can do is you can change the background of the color or like the backdrop if you want to see what it looks like on black. So that's what it'll look like against black. And then you can also change it back to white, or I think it was gray. Let's go back to gray. I believe is what it was. Yeah, gray, grids, that looks the same. But for background, you can go ahead and actually add articles of clothing. So if you're designing this for a polo, you can go to like a men's polo and then like a short sleeve polo. You can actually change the color of the polo. So if I'm going to be doing it on a black polo, you can then drag the design and then you can actually send this proof to a customer to show them what it'll look like. So background is pretty cool. All right, and then if you want to get rid of this polo, you can just go to background, click inside the hoop, and then just hit OK, and it should just get rid of it. All right, this center tab, they just added to Hatch 3, which is pretty awesome. So if you got your design and is not in the center, so right now if we export this design, if it doesn't say 00, it will actually be offset when you put it into your embroidery machine to stitch out. So if you hit this center all button, it'll then move it as close to 00 as possible. So use it all the time. Now, if you are not selected on the machine, you can also change metric and US. So it'll just pretty much tell you if you have your object property tab open and I click on this like ship, it shows me in inches. But if I wanted to show in metric, then it'll just pretty much tell you a different unit of measurement. All right, that's pretty much it for that. Now, if you do select an option or the object, you can access a lot more options. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the ones I use the most are the position, duplicate. You can also change the fill and the outline if you wanted to. So if I want to make this like a satin, you can change it to their filler and outline. And then just rotating. You utilize these a lot, rotating. All right, now let's talk about the toolboxes. This is where you're going to be accessing a ton of information on how to edit objects and pretty much everything that has to do with the program. So manage designs, that's just pretty much where you'll have all your designs in your library that you can access. I don't normally use that too much, but yeah. Let's go to customize design. So this tab, don't use it a lot. The only thing I really use it for is this auto fabric. So if this design is going on a polo or a blanket, you can go ahead and take it and hit auto fabric and pick what fabric it's going to go on. So if it's going to be going on like rayon, it'll also give you an option of the stabilizers to use. And it'll most likely change the underlays on the type of fabric. So if that fabric already has a ton of structure, it might get rid of some of the stitches. So you'll definitely see a different stitch count based on which fabric you select. Threads and like these color wheels are pretty cool. So if you have like your design and you want to go ahead and just randomize the colors to see if something might look a little better, you just keep hitting the cycle color wheel. So that's pretty cool. And then threads, it'll just access different parts of the actual program. All right, lettering tab, use all the time. Just pretty much this is where you have all your fonts, and you can go and add different fonts. Monograms is also there. That reshape shows up on this section as well, just like it did at the top. And then the knife section, you can go and break apart different objects. So if let me get a lettering tab, or if you want to, break apart the letters. So for this Nautic lettering, if you hit break apart, it'll just make them individual letters instead of the whole thing. All right, for the lay down stitch, I don't use it very often, but I pretty much think it'll just kind kind of, if you're working with super fluffy material, it'll kind of flatten down that fluffiness to be able to put letters and stuff on it. All right, this artwork tab, you can just insert a lot of the same information up top, but yeah, super simple. You can also dim your artwork if you want to see it a little better, but that's just pretty much inserting PNGs to work with. Auto digitize, pretty much if you have a PNG and you don't want to manually digitize, you can use this tab. I'll probably make another video on that, talking about that a little bit more. Edit objects, probably the most utilized section in this tab. Pretty much that in the digitize section, but pretty much you can go ahead, and if I have this object and I want to cut it in half, you know, this knife option, you can go ahead and, you know, create more points, and then it'll again break it apart. So that's how you can utilize the knife section. Remove overlaps if there's stuff underneath. So if I wanted to remove part of this triangle because the ship is on top, you can go ahead and, you know, remove overlaps, but sometimes that ends up making the patch look a little different. You can definitely see it kind of like cave in a little bit, so I don't really touch that too much. Stitch angles, you know, if you go ahead and hit H, you can go ahead and change the different angles of the stitches. Or if you want to add additional stitch angles, you can go ahead and, you know, click your object, hit add stitch angles. And then if I want some going up top and then, you know, changing it down the bottom, you can go ahead and kind of distort it that way. So that is that section. Sequencing, we'll just open up some of these other tabs we'll talk about in a little bit. So that's a little overview about the edit objects. All right, this digitizing tab will probably be the most important. So this top part, these shapes, if you just hold and click out, you can create different shapes. So there's like a rectangle, but if you hit shift, actually control will make a perfect square. And then you can also have a ton of different shapes. So if you're doing like a badge, you know, hold down control, make it that perfect shape. Freehand open shape, if you're like tracing around stuff. A lot of this time I think you use it with like a tablet pen, but that's a freehand open shape, or you can do the freehand close shape. Digitize open shape, if you're tracing around an object, it'll leave it open. Digitize close shape will actually finish off that whole design. So if you're doing a triangle or anything like that, that's what you want to do. So just like this ship, if you trace around and then want to close it up, it'll do that. And then if you want to make it a fill, just go to this top fill. But every time you got to hit O first to select your last object and then hit fill. All right, digitize blocks. This will kind of create like a column up, and then it'll create a column so you can kind of go around objects, say like a leg or an arm. Those are pretty cool to use. Carving stamp, you can create different stamps. Not going to talk about that too much. Same with the motif stamp. We'll probably do a little bit later. All right, for digitize holes, say you want to put an actual hole in the center of this, you can click the object, digitize holes, and then if you like right click around and you want to make like a hole, hit enter twice and it'll kind of carve out a hole, and then you can kind of reshape it however you want. Make it bigger or smaller. So that is the whole section. I'm going to go and delete some of these. All right, these last two sections with branching and red work. Branching is via kind of like creating a tree, kind of like what it shows here. It'll automatically sequence the objects. So to pretty much take all the components and path it into an automatic sequence. Red work will pretty much, you'll be able to create an entry and exit point, and then it'll repath it that way. I'll definitely make a different video on these two because it's a little bit more advanced, but very, very effective. All right, applique section. I always create my appliques not using this tab. So if I have like an applique that I want to use, I will take, say, my object, and I will duplicate it twice, and then make, let's go to the sequencing tab, which is not there. There we go. So if I have my 3 designs, I'll just make one of them, a single run outline, single run, put this one at the bottom. Then you got your placement stitch, your tack down stitch, and then your actual object. So they do need to be different colors. So the machine will actually record a stop. So that's usually what I do for applique. But if you want to utilize that tab, go ahead. All right, now for this create layouts tab. This is a super cool little tab. So you can create buttonholes if you wanted to. Never used it in my life. You got that lay down stitch that we also saw other places. But what I normally use this tab for is this create outlines and offsets. I use it all the time. So if I got this part of the ship and I want to kind of outline it with a satin stitch, you can hit that. Let's go ahead and change the color to say a light blue, and the outline will create an outline around the object, and then the offset will put something outside at the offset will be like 4 millimeters. So let's just hit OK, and I'll show you what it does. All right, so pretty much that's the offset going around, and then the outline, and then you can change it. If you click on it, you want a little smaller. Let's just go 1. It'll just make it a little smaller. You can just change it with the things, or delete them if you don't like it. All right, now for this multi-hooping tab, never used it. I know you can, if you have a huge object, you can kind of multi-hoop designs together, but there's got to be some better videos on multi-hooping, so I'm not even going to talk about that. And then output design. If you want to output your designs, you got different options here. I always just use the file export design tab. That is what I usually use for outputting a design. All right, let's talk about that last section. This is the Docker section. Over here on the right hand side, there are 7 Dockers. As you can see, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open. So if you want to make sure you have all of them open, go to Window, Dockers. And again, the one I was missing was Design Overview. And so I'll go ahead and open up that and close it. And now you have all 7. You can also take them and move them around. But I usually just find what I need. All right, let's start at the top. Design information. This is a very, very important design. If you go to design, it'll talk to you about the amount stitches, how big it is, how many colors, but the amount of trims. I use this all the time to see if I need to cut down on the amount of trims. Definitely use this for that. All right, thread colors. It'll show you on your machine how many different color stops you're going to have. And that's definitely a big reason to use this tab. And then the stitching, I really never use that tab. So it's just these two really are what I use all the time. All right, threads. If you want to go ahead and change your different threads on here, I already know which threads are on my machine, so I just use very generic colors. I don't match it perfect, but if you want to add your own library to it, you can. But other than that, I usually I'll create the design and then pick the fabric or the threads after. All right, let's go to sequence. Sequence is pretty much where you can move around all of your different objects. So if I wanted this to stitch before this, you can go and move them around or use these arrow keys. This one will move it all the way to the top or the bottom. Or if you want to just move, say, this thing up 1, you would just use these inner ones. You can also just grab it, drag it. Pretty easy, pretty simple to move around on the sequencing tab, but you will be utilizing the sequencing tab a ton when you decide to start embroidering. All right, hints, just give you different hints on different things. So since I clicked on buttonholes, it's got different resources if you feel like you need to. All right, design overview. I'm not sure if I talked about that before. It just shows you a little overview of your design. Design information we already talked about. And And then let's talk about the object properties tab. So if you click on an object, it will normally open up the object properties tab, but this is when I can make this triangle into a single run, stem stitch, anything like that. So you'll be able to change different properties. Again, embossed. If I want to emboss the ship, you can do that. More advanced tabs. If you want to change the different ways of your actual design. Then the effects tab will have different things. If I want to make this background more of a where was it, a radial fill, you can definitely do a ton of different designs utilizing these tabs. And then the stitching, so if I wanted this triangle to have less stitches or less underlay, you can go and take off different underlays or make them thinner, thicker. I'll utilize that a lot for, say, like the triangle. You got your edge run and your zigzags. You see these outside lines are your edge run, and then you got a zigzag. If you want to change it to, say, a double zigzag, you'll see that. And then you can also move it either wide, normal. You can move around different things like that. Pull compensation, that's definitely very important to start to understand. Is just because something looks good on the screen doesn't mean it's actually going to stitch out because of pull compensation. There's a tons of videos on that. I'm not going to jump to talking about that. All right, so there you have it. That was the Hatch 3 overview. I didn't want to make it into a full-blown tutorial and just wanted to outline all the different things that you can do with Hatch 3. If interested, there is a 30-day free trial that Hatch 3 offers that you could use before purchasing this product. This is a very user-friendly software, so if anyone has any questions, please leave them down below. Again, I'm not affiliated with Hatch 3 by any means. I just use it for my business and want everyone to learn how to use it as well.